Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Roberto Corona. I am an Italian anthroposopher and astrologer, and in this video we will talk about the next new moon in Aquarius of February 9. This is an important new moon because it features an unusual planetary alignment which will give great emphasis to Aquarius energies, which by the way are under the spotlight, especially after the ingress of Pluto in the sign of January 20th. Now let's talk first about the last changes in the sky. On January 27, Uranus turned direct again. Then on February 5, Mercury entered Aquarius, conjoining Pluto, and now Mars is also getting ready for this conjunction, which in fact is already present in the chart, and specifically Mars will enter Aquarius on February 13th, and it will perfect the conjunction with Pluto on February 14th, the day of the beginning of Lent. And in fact, Lent this year goes from February 14th to March 28th. Not exactly, we can say, an ideal Valentine's Day, given that it falls on Ash Wednesday during the conjunction between Mars and Pluto. So let's take a look at the meaning of the chart. This is a new moon, so it represents the beginning of the process of manifestation of the etheric forces down on Earth, which gradually increase with the waxing moon up to the next full moon. And in this sense, the new moon is a cosmic seed, so it is a good time to sow, to start new things. And this is certainly a new moon with very, very destabilizing beginnings, given the accumulation of planets between Capricorn and Pisces. We have 7 planets aligned. And this manifestation process will reach its culmination with the next full moon happening in Virgo on February 24th. Now, the Sun and the Moon are located here at 20 degrees and 40 minutes Aquarius in the starry image of Capricorn. And as you can see, they are in this wide conjunction with Mercury, which, by the way, is part of this train of planets. So, as you can see, we have aligned in order Venus, Mars, Pluto, Mercury, the Sun and the Moon, and Saturn, altogether 7 planets, all arranged one after the other in the sky. At least, fortunately, the strength of this heap of planets is broken into different zodiac signs, and this helps to ease down the tension. But it's definitely a quite intense sky. And in fact, we can still consider to be present in the chart a stellium, a heap of 4 planets in Aquarius. So this stellium is formed by Pluto, Mercury, Sun and Moon in Aquarius. I consider that to be a weak stellium because it involves the Moon and Mercury that are very fast-moving planets, so it is not going to last for long. And I consider a stellium to be such when we have at least 4 planets or more present in the same sign, and then I evaluate its strength based on various factors such as the conjunction, if they are narrow or wide, and so on. So as I told you, this is a rather weak stellium, but still sufficient to create this great emphasis on Aquarius forces. So being in Aquarius, this new moon is ruled by Saturn, which is in Pisces, is located at 7 degrees 29 Pisces, in close conjunction with the star Sadak Bia at 702 Pisces. Sadak Bia is a star useful for shedding light on everything that is hidden, and in particular when we need to find things or people. And this gesture of finding things is reflected in the chart by the presence of Mercury in conjunction with Pluto, being Mercury our psychopomp, which is basically a god that was able to enter the Hades, represented by the planet Pluto. It is the mouth of hell, right? So in this regard, we can look at Mercury as an active agent that is capable of bringing secrets to the surface. Now let's talk about the meaning of the chart, as always, starting by talking about the physical meanings. And the chart, as we said, represents new beginnings. and in particular, new beginnings of what has been prepared with the previous full moon. So we have seen in the previous video that the conjunction of the Sun and Pluto represented actually an activation of the ingress of Pluto in Aquarius. And here we have this process confirmed, not only because we have this stellium, however weak, in Aquarius, which is the zodiac sign of revolution, but we are witnessing in this chart the first conjunction between Mars and Pluto. Now, this is very important because this conjunction is going to happen every 2 years, so 10 times. And the revolutionary movements that we have been preparing in recent weeks will manifest here. And why is that? Because Mars, god of war, activates the will of the collective, represented by Pluto in Aquarius, given that Pluto is Mars's higher octave, so they resonate a lot together. And this is even more the case given the presence of the star Sadak Bia, bringing out what we have basically prepared and that so far remained in the shadows. In particular, we can well interpret the square between the new moon and Uranus in Taurus, here it is, by looking at the farmers' revolts in Europe, since Taurus is the zodiac sign of nature and natural resources, including, of course, agricultural products. And in fact, we can take, for example, the eclipses in Taurus that happened two years ago, which combined with the presence of Uranus in Taurus back then led to the crisis in the supply chain or the supply of natural resources, such as the Russian gas or the Ukrainian wheat. And this confirms how the forces of Taurus basically bring repercussions on these sectors. Now, this dynamic is further described by Saturn, Lord of the Syzygy, who is making, here it is, a sextile with Jupiter. This is a, well, I don't want to say quite long sextile, but it is definitely going to last until March. And so here we have the effect brought by Jupiter, which represents expansion, and also wealth, especially because it is in Taurus, a fixed earth sign. So this expansion, this effect, this wealth has to do with overcoming this crisis, for example, in the agricultural sector. And the maximum, the peak of these tensions regarding the era of Taurus will be reached during the conjunction of Jupiter with Uranus happening in April, shortly after eclipse season 1. And by the way, in April, we also have, on top of that, Mercury retrograde in Aries. So it is going to be a quite intense month. From a personal point of view, we may find ourselves involved in these groups leading revolutions and change, all aimed at social justice or greater protection or equality, all basically Aquarian significations. And the impulse of the new moon leads to sudden beginnings of personal projects as well. And this is because the effect of Aquarius is quite sudden, right? And this may also involve new forms of income, especially because this Jupiter in Taurus can also represent money. So if you want to go for it, remember to be cautious, because this is a very, very intense chart and we don't want to bite off more than we can chew, basically. Now, on the soul front, psychologically, this new moon in Aquarius represents a great impulse towards individual freedom and the realization of our ideals. It is indeed time for action, overcoming procrastination, and finally follow these new impulses. And this is certainly confirmed by the conjunction of Mars with Pluto in Aquarius, especially because Mars is still in exaltation here in Capricorn. And in particular, the square of the moon here with Uranus in Taurus brings the possibility of breaking with the old patterns and habits of the past that we want to overcome. However, if we were to continue to put it off, to not going for it, we could feel this tension growing inside. And here we really want to avoid this sort of pressure cooker effect and to engage in external activities to ease this tension, because again, this chart is super strong, it's super intense. Now, on top of that, remember that some of you may express these tensions like channeling in these protests, being part of these group demonstrations. And with the star, Sadegbia, it's time to let things come out, to show ourselves and who we really are. Now, spiritually, the constellation of Capricorn, here it is, in astrosophy is associated with the forces of gnosis, that is the direct knowledge of the spiritual worlds. And it is precisely from this impulse that we can draw new ideas or new ideals that the forces of Aquarius are going to achieve. So in a less spiritualist sense, the impulse towards freedom, according to Rudolf Steiner's indications in the book The Philosophy of Freedom, this impulse comes directly from what we call intellectual intuition. Basically, it is the activity of our spirit, and the human spirit is effectively free, that is capable of allowing this intellectual intuition and to basically tap in a region of our soul which is free. Now, this means that we can draw from within, from ourselves, the intuitions of those ideas that we're going to realize. And in this way, intuition becomes for us at the same time the ideal content of what we want to achieve and the impulse towards action, or if you like, to this Aquarian revolution, this Aquarian impulse. And only in this sphere, that this area of the soul that anthroposophy calls the conscious soul, we can truly be free. Now, on top of that, in astrosophy, we also associate the constellation of Capricorn with the action of the seraphim, the spirits of love. That's the highest spiritual hierarchy, who help us develop higher states of consciousness. And in order to do this, the purification of selfishness is required in such a way to transform this energy, which is the energy of our I, not our ego, our lower ego, but our I, into love. So if you want, you can imagine that selfishness is the lowest manifestation of our I, our spiritual being. And as we manifest the same energy, but on a higher level, that is basically the same energy of the seraphim, which are the spirits of love. And on top of that, the star Sadegbia allows us to penetrate more with our spirit into everything that is hidden, veiled from our sight, because this is what this star brings. It allows us to unveil these mysteries. As always, thanks for watching. If you want to support my work, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell not to miss out on future astrological insights. I am Roberto Corona. See you in the next video.